We are live, and this is
Live at last.
Live at last, and one of the last, if not the last live show in this set that we spent years building.
We have to do a coronavirus journal before we leave. Is
it going to be the final coronavirus journal ever?
I mean, I'm kind of losing interest in it, but...
It's not just that I'm losing interest in it. It's that I think it literally destroyed our YouTube channels by doing it. Like, it was... If you look at our numbers of our YouTube views, something interesting happened with that, actually, is when we were doing coronavirus journals, we were definitely losing subscribers because, you know, I'm sure some people are just interested in photo and video stuff, and they're like, what is this? I don't want to hear about news. So they were leaving. But more than that is it seemed like all of our numbers were going down. So not just like coronavirus videos, but at the beginning, the coronavirus, and the fact that we're even saying the word right now, maybe we're being penalized again, but our numbers were up really high when we started the journals for all of our old videos and the journal videos.
But then even photography-related videos started to dive bomb.
Everything started going down, 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 down. So then what we did was we moved channels. Like, we created this live channel, and we did everything there, but we still had the coronavirus videos on our other channel. And we would make videos that I'm like, all right, this has got to get at least like 25,000 views or whatever, and it get 5,000 views. So just recently, I went through and I unlisted every single coronavirus video that we had made. So I think you can...
It's called bending at the knee.
Maybe so.
That's what it's called, Lee.
So I think you might be able to find it because there's like a playlist of them for the true fans to go back and watch. And I've actually, it's funny to go back and watch our attitudes of, you know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. But
they're not easily found on YouTube through the algorithms by searching, and you kind of have to dig a little deeper.
And one of our highest rated videos, or most viewed videos of all time, was about the plandemic, and that was the title of the video. Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't say that either. Like, it had over 1 million views. And so the second that I unlisted that, like, the next video that I made had over 100,000 views on it. Now, you could say, well, all of your content is crap, and that one video is really good. Or, you know, that one video is like, it had keywords that people liked or whatever. It's just weird that not a single video that we've made, photography related, in the last year and a half, has gotten like over 30,000 views. And then I unlist all the videos, and then all of a sudden now we get over 100,000 on the video.
Sounds like a scam-demic.
Maybe so. I don't know.
This is kind of people's argument for leaving platforms like YouTube and Facebook that control the algorithms, and, you know, they can silence you so quickly, you know. But in my mind, I just want people to be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about. I mean, we've had fun talking about that, but this is not the Coronavirus Journal show, even though it looks like the same set.
Exactly.
This is the Critique the Community, where we do talk about photography.
And real quick, Zach J gave us a super chat. He says, Lee looks like a top bald Dan Blazarian.
If only your wallet looked the same.
I know, right?
And the women, and the cars, and the missiles, and the guns, and the physique.
And the cats.
I think the cholesterol, though. That guy's got to have a heart attack. I mean, he already did have a heart attack, right?
I think he's had many heart attacks.
Dan Blazarian doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to, like, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like he's going to make it that far.
That's true, but how many lifetimes has he lived?
Well, you only get one, but he's lived like 5.
Oh, dude, I think he's lived like 5,000. Like, when you think about what he does on a daily basis versus what you and I do.
It would be everybody's greatest day ever.
Right.
I can't imagine what that's doing to the dopamine in your head.
Well, he's talked about it, and one day we're gonna talk about photography. But I've watched some podcasts with him, and he's obviously like the biggest douchebag on earth, right? I don't think he would even deny that. But he's also one of the most honest people I have ever heard speak publicly. And he will talk about things that the average person might feel or think or know inherently, but you'd be like, I'm not going to talk about that because of, like, society or what, like, the backlash for talking about this.
Or it might make you look insecure or weak or something.
Yeah, but he just does not care anymore. He'll talk about anything. And one thing that he's brought up in many podcast is that he has purchased and consumed so much entertainment and pleasure that he can never get back to the level that he was years ago. Like he's like, I have done everything. I've hooked up with so many girls at the same time that like I can't really enjoy sex anymore like I used to, years ago. I've shot like
Skeet
the
with
biggest
missiles.
Yeah,
You,
like
how
once
can
you shoot the missile out of the helicopter, it's like now shooting my machine gun doesn't do it for me anymore.
Ridden, dolphins underwater, with a scuba tank. It's like, okay, well.
Right, I don't want to swim in my pool now.
Neil Strauss, the Rolling Stones writer who wrote what was the book? The Game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got books about this too. Like you've done so much pleasure and had so many crazy experiences. You've like gotten Britney Spears to give you her phone number.
Yeah.
Like, how do you ever get? Maybe that's just a way us simpletons like justify not living that lifestyle. Like, I don't want to live that lifestyle because I don't want to like live the rest of my life depressed because I can never reach that next plateau.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going that far. Like, there's definitely some levels of
indulgence that you
want
to.
that like I want that as like this primal animal. But then on the other hand, there is something to be said for just like slowly raising your quality of life for your whole life. If you can't just be content, like that's the dream, but almost nobody can do that. So just slowly having slightly nicer things as you age and figuring out how to make a little bit more money each year, like that is the secret to happiness. But the average person, if you got $100 million tomorrow, would not be able to resist the urge.
I've always thought about this, and we will get to the show soon.
One day.
I've always thought about this with my lifestyle, maybe your lifestyle, and other people's lifestyles where you don't get married and have kids really young. Because many of the people that I was best friends with in high school found the girl or guy of their dreams in college and got married and started having kids at 21. And in my mind, that's kind of what I always thought I wanted. And maybe, there's value in that. I don't want to dismiss it. But they immediately never had the chance to work on a career. They never traveled. They never really saved and invested money because they immediately had kids, had to buy the house, had to pay for the diapers, couldn't do anything but stay with the job that they were at. And I've always thought, like, in some ways, wow, I've gotten to see the world and build a career and start these companies and, like, do all this crazy stuff. And then now I'm trying to start a family at almost 40. But then I see them and I'm like, man, your kids are almost out of high school. And you're about to, like, potentially, you could retire and start living your life at my age a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's value to both of them. So I don't know which one's the right way to, pursue life. But I think waiting to have kids late and having the career first is a more new, Western view of life that's probably only happened for a generation or two. It's always been have children at the youngest age possible, but that kind of limits, in a lot of ways, what might be possible. So
I think the key is to just be happy with your decision and stop comparing yourself to Dan Blazarian. That is the secret to happiness. Just stop trying to be like other people or like
get off the gram
or whatever. Get off the what?
The Instagrams.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
All right. This is Critique the Community, right? This is a photography show.
It is.
Should we talk about that? This critique is on smartphone photography. If you would like to be a part of the next critique, it's going to be on product photography.
Product photography.
So you can go to fstoppers.com/contests right now.
We do not know where we're going to be for that critique. Probably going to be back in Charleston because we are both having to move out of this house.
Yeah.
I have bought a house in Puerto Rico. Maybe we'll talk about that on the next Coronavirus Journal. And then you're in the process of buying a house.
Who knows?
But there's no way we're going to do that here during the holidays. So I think people might get a sneak peek of the new studio in Charleston for the next critique. So,
didn't you film a video that was like, I'm destroying the
yeah,
studio?
I have to edit the next one.
Okay, that was like months ago that you did that.
Yeah, I just wanted to save it for, see what other edits I could do and if I missed anything.
I see. All right, let's look at this image. Is this the highest rated shot?
This is the highest rated image.
If you took this shot, send me a private message on fstoppers.com. This was taken by Hans Jorgen Lindelof. And he said this was taken last April 2021 during COVID, taken with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and our 7 DNG files merged in Photoshop. Interesting. The final edit was in Lightroom Classic. Do you hate the fact that they changed Lightroom's name to Lightroom Classic? Why would they do that? Why didn't they keep Lightroom and
Just
then
call it
make the
mobile?
new one Lightroom Mobile? I don't understand why. Anyway, the cabin is one of the most photographed cabins in Norway. Wouldn't that be really annoying if you bought this incredible cabin and photographers all day, every day were taking pictures of your house? How creepy would that be?
You know, when you buy a house, if you buy a house in, say, Charleston or a historic town, you have to disclose if it's ever been haunted. And we joke here, there's some homes that have, a lot of seaweed that washes up near them and they smell.
Yeah.
You have to disclose that. Do you have to disclose that, hey, every day you wake up, there's people pointing cameras right into your cabin?
Right, that's horrible.
Every day. Like, do you have to disclose that, or do you buy the house
Because think
and
about it,
realize-
like you would think, man, this is one of the most beautiful little cabins I've ever seen in my life. And even if you heard, like, this is a super photo, people from around the world want to photograph this house, you would feel like that was special.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Ooh, that might add a value to it.
Right, like if you had the Frank Lloyd Wright house, in the woods with the water running under it, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah, this is awesome. But then if you moved into it and photographers are like sneaking through the woods to take pictures of your house, you'd go, this is not worth it. Mm-hmm. So, a situation I never considered before.
And what's crazy is, Norway's absolutely beautiful, and this shot's beautiful. We're going to rate it here in a minute, but you would think the mountains or something in the background would be even crazier for this to be, what did he say, the most photographed cabins in Norway? Maybe it's just super accessible.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's like you drive by it and everybody stops to take the picture. But
yeah. Are you ready to rate it?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
4 stars.
4 stars, we agree.
For a smartphone photo?
Yeah, this, I feel like I can kind of get a vibe of what was taken on a smartphone or not. There's definitely this HDR thing that the iPhone is doing automatically to try to retain that crazy dynamic range. This shot does not look like that though. And it's not, like he did it manually with 7 raw files, because you can shoot raw. Have you shot raw on your phone yet?
No.
I haven't either. We probably should. We should probably make a video
What's
about
funny
that.
is, if you shoot raw and do this, you get results that look unbelievable. But if you just let the iPhone do its automated thing, it looks better and is quicker than if I just took one raw file and then had to download it and tweak it and export it and then use it. To where, because you can see on the live, if you set your phone to do the live setting, you scroll through and then it locks in and whoosh.
And then we'll change it. Yeah, you can see what the camera's doing to the image.
It's pretty impressive. And it's not just the iPhone, it's other brands as well. But
yeah, like I, obviously with my new son, I just take snapshots all the time when he's doing something cute or whatever. And maybe this is blasphemous, but I just feel like the pictures are plenty good enough.
Yeah.
Like I have no desire to be like, oh, I wish I had taken this with my pro camera.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I'm doing stuff with lighting in the studio, I'm reaching for my pro camera.
Yeah.
But when I'm just outside or whatever and I can drop it into portrait mode and blur that background, it looks perfect.
What's funny is with the new iPhone, the last couple years, the 3 cameras, 3 lenses, those pictures that are going to be posted to social media by people who really aren't professional photographers will look, in my opinion, better than professional photographers who pulled this bad boy out 15 years ago and stopped their kid. Oh, I'm trying to get the picture. And yes, it's, this is APS-C.
Yeah.
This is a crop sensor, but still, the images off this were probably not as good with, the techniques that they applied back then.
Yeah.
In editing and everything.
Well, that camera is a 2 megapixel camera. That's the first DSLR, technically second. It's like the slightly updated version of Nikon's first ever camera. But yeah, full 2 megapixels is all you get. iPhone's 12, and people are complaining now that 12 isn't enough, and pros were using that for, I think that was like a $6,000 camera, 2 megapixels.
We need to do something with this. I think this versus the iPhone would be a great. Like,
Yeah,
I have no idea what the dynamic range in this looks like.
So surprisingly, I bought this 4 or 5 years ago to do a video about it because I thought like this will be so interesting to see how far we've come, and then I just haven't made the video yet. And it's funny because the battery that comes with it literally lasts like 12 pictures, and then you have to charge the battery again just because it's so old. But when you look at the images, you pull them up on a computer screen, they look like a pro shot. You would never know that this was taken with an old camera. But then you try to zoom into it, and it doesn't zoom in. Like, you're already at 100% when you open the file. And that's when you go, oh, wow. Okay, this is how far we've come, with how big of a difference the resolution is. Let's
move on. The next image, here we go. This is actually the second highest rated image. I don't always put them in order. I try to mix them up, but in this case,
I do not like this.
This is the one the community rated number 2.
I think the community made an error, or the pictures in this critique are going to be bad. This was taken by Dominic Egenman, and he says, I have taken this shot of a small mountain lake in Switzerland with my Google Pixel 3a. It was a really cloudy day. I got lucky and got some sun rays on the larch trees, which turn yellow in the fall. The picture was slightly edited in Lightroom. Are you ready to rate this?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
I'm going 3 because I think if you were scrolling through a portfolio of landscape shots, this wouldn't be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, and that's a horrible shot. And I don't like, the only critique I really have for this, how it could use more work, is I feel like the composition itself isn't great.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have leading lines, and you're starting to lose. There's so much going on that's a little busy. But for a landscape shot, I still don't know that I'd consider this a snapshot. Like, I'm kind of between a 2 and a 3, but I feel like this is...
2 is not snapshot. 1 is snapshot.
Okay, 2 needs work.
You can't put this on your portfolio.
I think this could go in your portfolio, and then just hopefully it would be replaced soonish.
Okay. I feel like this composition feels very strange. I feel like the interesting part of this image are the trees on the right side. I want to zoom into that, and I want to like maybe zoom past those rocks on the bottom and just have those tall trees on the right with the interesting clouds with the little bit of the mountains that are up there. And I mean, you could even do that. So
I can obviously not add more to the scene. But you're saying get rid. Do you like the?
I think it needs to continue to be a vertical image, which I know you can't do on this.
But what I'm trying to do is, do you dislike the cloud reflecting in the water on the bottom and get rid of that altogether? So it's
let me see this.
More of a mirrored shot, or
I'm gonna see if I can. I don't know what's about to happen, guys. I'm gonna try to edit this shot. Is it gonna let me do it? All right, so we're gonna crop it.
I feel like I want to see more of the coastline on the right. Like you said, those trees, the tallest trees in this frame, are the most interesting trees, and it feels like they're cut off abruptly.
That is what I think it should be.
How did you do this? Can I just get out of this, or did that save? As
I think I might have saved over what it was, so it's done now.
Okay.
But I feel like that feels like a...
Go full screen so they can see it a little bit better.
I feel like that's a much better composition, whereas the composition previously that we cannot get back to now felt so strange. Oh, there you go.
Boom, we're back.
Yeah, I don't like that.
There's just too much going on.
Yeah.
Well, you've made a compelling argument that this is a 2 that could easily be maybe... Would you give it a 3 with that crop?
Absolutely.
Okay, so... Really pretty location, though. I miss the lake. I feel like we live at the beach, and the beach, to me, gets really old. Especially this beach. It's just like a line. There's no topography. There's no change in weather.
Yeah.
It's like rainy or sunny. But, like, being out there where you just, like, literally can walk around the rocks and skip the rocks and see the fish and you have that smell. Like I feel like we're about to go back to the States, and it's gonna be too cold to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, I have been 50-50. Like, I'm moving back to the States or I'm staying in Puerto Rico. Like, I literally do not know what I'm about to do. Now I'm leaning towards staying here because if this house goes through, we're buying the house. But one of the issues was that, we bought this boat down here with all these families. I never got to the point where I felt comfortable taking it out without a professional captain on board. Because going out in the ocean is just crazy out there.
yeah.
But we just went on a trip for the first time without the captain. So then I'm like, I just learned how to use this boat, and now I'm about to move back to the States, and like, that's going to be the worst situation.
Yeah.
So I feel like I agree with what you're saying. Lakes are just like easier and cleaner and safer and nicer and everything. But now that we can take the boat out without trying to hire some captain every time we want to use it, that'll
make it a little bit better.
Better,
Yeah.
yes.
I agree. All right, let's get on with this. The next image, man, this looks like a photo that Apple would use to like release the image quality of the new iPhone 14.
Where have I seen this image before?
Have we critiqued this already? Or is this just such a common...
I feel like I saw this image in the last critique or something. Is that not true? I don't know. I'm so confused. I thought...
I'm always scared if they show back up because would I say the exact same things that I said back then?
So this was taken by Aljo Anthony, and he said the photograph of the leaf vein was taken on the Microsoft Lumia 640 XL. I have no idea what that is. This was naturally backlit, which emphasized the network of veins. I took this photo in raw therapy post-processing software to give it some contrast, sharpness, and a few small changes. Yeah, I swear we've critiqued this before.
Well, let's critique it again.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1.
4?
4 stars. I really like it. I feel like it's awesome. And some of the impurities or inaccuracies, where you have like a little bit of the blur around, like especially the upper right and the upper left, I don't really mind it.
Yeah.
It kind of feels a little more artistic to me.
Is that motion blur, or that's got to be depth of field, right?
Or just crappy camera phone lens, Like, even with the new iPhone, with the macro mode on the new iPhone, it's super blurry around the edges and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
it's just soft because it's probably letting as much light in as possible, and naturally it's
probably
kind of giving like a blurred vignette look.
Yeah, but I dig this. I just feel like this is just a nice, simple, artistic shot. I don't know. I don't think there's any way that anybody would see this and go like, oh, I wish this was taken on a professional camera. I don't think you can really tell.
Where you would notice, I think, is if you blew this up and printed it. Like an image like this would look amazing. Like I've just recently been shopping for tile for the house. I want to retile the entire house. I feel like that's the one big facelift that I really want to do. And I will go into stores that have, crazy tile on the wall or big prints. I'm just looking at a lot of design. And I'll see an image like this and say like, wow, if you blew that up, by like 8 feet wide and this probably isn't the image for that, but if you put this in a bathroom vertically, you just walk in there and you feel like you're in a jungle.
Right.
It's kind of cool, but
yeah,
that's the fear with the iPhone or any smartphone is that you only have 12 megapixels. Now maybe you would argue with this bad boy, you only had 2 to 12 10 years ago and you still can print 12 megapixels really large. You made a video about this with billboards, You don't need that many megapixels, but you do need megapixels if you're going to print it in a house and have the viewer be able to walk right up and see it.
Well, so you say that, but do you remember my office in Charleston when I lived in the house?
Yep.
Where I had all like the bikini babes in my office long before I was married. And those pictures, I would say, almost look perfect. You could walk right up and see every hair.
And you shot those on like a D300, so they were like 12 megapixels?
I think they were 12 megapixel
10 or 12?
shots. Yeah. Now, I'm sure they look better than an iPhone on a professional DSLR, but it was still just 12 megapixels.
Well, and if you've gone to Peter Lick, for example, we've gone to his studio, or probably other photographers, and you walk right up. Like, the images look incredible when they're all studio lit and everything, and they got that, like, glow to them. But you walk up, and they're not as impressive as I would think they would be at the sizes and at the cost that they're selling these prints for. I mean, maybe you've seen some where you go up to him and you're like, and it's probably different stages of his career, but I've gone up to some of the ones in nature and I'm like, all of the foliage you can't like pick out the leaf, even though it was shot on like medium format.
Gotcha.
But
I feel like when I've been to Peter Lick's studio, I'm always pretty impressed with the detail. But let's move on.
So I was trying to find some images that were not just all landscapes, because
Sure.
the top 20 images were all landscapes, and I feel like that would get a little boring.
This looks like Puerto Rico.
Is this like Tobias's house? I guess this is a yellow. What kind of car is that? I don't.
That is that's a Mercedes, isn't it? I just started playing the new Forza game that just came out. It's pretty awesome. It's a racing game.
Yeah.
The graphics are incredible. But I'm not a huge car guy. Are you ready to rate it?
Yeah, this does have that Puerto Rico carport where you can't enclose the car.
And the house in the background with the terracotta shingles and everything. Like it
Yeah.
looks very similar to here.
All right.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 3 stars.
3 as well?
I feel like it's great from a photography standpoint. I feel like I would never guess that this was taken on a smartphone. I think my problem is just with the composition and like the weird differences in style of the house in the foreground and the background. Like if you were taking this shot because you're trying to sell this house and the house in the background is part of the weird carport in the front, then you've done an amazing job. But if you're just taking a picture because you like the car and this is where you decided to do it, I feel like that's strange. It's just because the carport and the house in the back don't match to me.
I think the only reason I'm giving this image a 3 is because I love the tonal qualities of this image. And from, when it's small, it kind of pops.
Yeah.
It's not even really about the car. It's like it adds a little yellow, but it's kind of the white and the color scheme. Like this is a image that really pops off the screen. But when you look at it and try to put it in a genre or figure out where it goes in your portfolio, I don't love that you can see, the electrical tower there. I don't love that the leading line here is taking you right outside of the frame. I don't love that you can see the neighbor's house on the bottom right. It almost feels like you didn't have access to this property and you're just peeking over your own property or a rental and you're trying to get the shot. But that being said, the sky looks good. I like the burst and like the blooming that you have on the top left. I just feel like the composition's not great. You're not showing the whole car. It's not a landscape photo. There's a lot of things here that don't really make sense to me, but it's still, the tonality is really nice in this image.
So Brandon Silvera shot this, and everyone was right. A photo I took of the neighbor's SLS Black Series parked under his backyard canopy in LA. So it literally is like a creepy spy shot. And that's kind of what we were complaining about. It just doesn't feel like...
Is there any kind of crop that you could do where...
See, I think so.
You just get rid of some of the information. And
I think I would crop in even tighter than that and really make it a car shot. Something more like that. I think I like much better.
You probably want to like clone out these chairs and stuff and just.
And then of course you see that vertical line on that far left wall there. Like you need to pull that out.
There's
like
a little
this.
keystoning.
Yeah.
Both the vertical lines are kind of coming down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know what portfolio it belongs into, but I like it enough to give it a 3.
So as long as we're wasting time and not talking about photography related things, I've gone on this wild goose chase of looking at, I started by looking for golf carts because like we have one golf cart that we share But if we get two separate houses, one of us needs to buy another golf cart or whatever. And golf carts here in Puerto Rico are insane.
Yep.
The 6-seater golf carts are $13,000 here. So I start thinking,
Ship them in.
yeah, ship it in, right? But then I'm like, I don't need the brand name. I'm gonna go on Alibaba, and I'm gonna get some China one, because you can get the 6-seater on Alibaba for $3,000.
Yeah.
So you'll save $10,000.
And if it's electric, do golf carts have the same import tax in Puerto Rico? If you
I don't know.
If you get an electric golf cart, does it now come in with 0 tax, or is that already over with?
I don't know. That's not over with. They're doing that on cars, but that's something that I need to figure out. But that led me down this path of cheap electric vehicles from China, right?
Yeah.
And there's this car called the Changli.
Changli.
It's called the Changli. And you can buy this car.
Able to pull this thing up so
Yeah, I
people
can
know what
pull
you're
it
talking
up.
about? It's a car, or it's like a golf cart alternative?
It's basically the size of a golf cart, 4-door, enclosed.
Goes 50 miles an hour?
I think it was 35.
Can you take it to Walmart? Would you take it on the freeway, or just...
Hell no.
Okay.
No. So let's look it up. Chang.
I was thinking of buying on Alibaba before I moved to Puerto Rico. They had these huge, they're popular now, but they're these little motorcycles with the big wheel,
Yeah.
you know? Instead, I got the little scooter that's not quite as exciting.
So.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. So.
Look at that truck.
Yeah. So this is the truck version.
Dude, you can't drive around this neighborhood in that.
And it's also, it's a little misleading, the size. Like this car looks maybe like a small car or whatever, but it's insanely small. Like this one here is bigger.
Is there anything that looks a little more normal? Like our friend
I kind of like this truck.
Our friend Farouk has the like the BMW or the Mercedes golf cart.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks bubbly and cute like this, but still kind of respectable.
Well,
these do not look...
How much do you think this car costs new? Now, let me tell you the specs on this car.
Is this all... This is all plastic? Like, you can't get in a wreck in this, right? You're going to die.
I mean, dude, just think of it as a golf cart, but it has...
Golf cart's plastic with some, like, bare minimum metal.
Yeah, but it's got electric windows. It's got a heater inside. It's got Bluetooth stereo. It's got a backup camera.
If you connect a winch to this, the winch just pulls you forward.
So literally, you can with the truck, you can pay extra, and they'll put a winch on.
No, there's a winch.
So guess how much this car
snorkel?
cost. Guess how much this. It doesn't need a snorkel. It's electric. Guess how much.
I'm gonna say this is $5,000.
This car, you can buy it right now for $1,200.
But then you got to pay, you know, $5,000 to $10,000 in a container to get it.
Okay, so I've done the research, and people are buying these and getting it to the States. Maybe it'll cost more here, but they're getting it to the States all in for under $3,500.
So here's the thing. I've been looking through Alibaba, which has led me, not me, but a neighbor has found this company that does windows. And so we're all buying these windows. But the issue is we have to fill a full container full of hurricane-proof windows.
And I don't know why that is, but go ahead.
To make it worth, because I think they have to send one ship to Puerto Rico. If it was like going to LA, you would just say, put it in any kind of container. But I think because it's like
maybe
coming
that's
here.
The problem. Maybe
so
because it's Puerto Rico.
I think, and I could be wrong, people are also speculating, is there anything else we need to buy from China to put in this container?
You see?
So maybe we
get
all
some.
need
We
to
get a few Changlis. We put them in there.
There's got to be a better looking car. Like,
dude, the truck is badass, man. And here's the crazy thing about the truck. It's got a truck bed.
I can't wait to read these comments.
The truck bed has a hydraulic press built underneath it, and you press a button, and it dumps the truck bed. So you can fill that thing with dirt, and you press a button, and it'll dump it out. How awesome is that?
Well, if we get these, we got to sell our golf cart before the price plummets.
Dude, I feel like we could sell our golf cart and buy two Changlis.
Has our golf cart gone up in value, even as it's like rusted and decayed?
Potentially, yes.
It's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah.
Inflation, it's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's get back to the critique. There's got to be better looking cars than that.
Dude, the Changli is the best looking car there is. This picture is so weird. I mean, it looks like these are little models or something. Don't do it. I'm sorry, do it. Don't think about it anymore. Just do it. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be such an incredible YouTube series as well. You know, the whole story of the Chang Li and then how long the Chang Li survives.
Not just that, but I mean, this is the gamble you play is like, we don't know if this is total junk. But if you bought 30 of those and brought them over here, like, you might be able to make a lot of money too,
Okay,
because
so-
somebody doesn't want to deal with the headache of it. And
So,
it's
I'll tell you this real quick. I know this is not related to photography in any way, but I've gone down this rabbit hole, right? Of like, how do you get them over here? I've seen a lot of people who've done it. They get them, they're all dented up and messed up because they build this little metal cage around it, but then they stuff it in a container with other stuff, and then on the boat, stuff hits it, and you get the car, and it's all messed
they
up.
don't put it in a pallet like a wooden.
No.
Okay.
So then there's this one company in Utah that ships in 9 at a time. You can fit 9 in one container at a time. And they sell them for $9,500 when they get them in.
Okay.
So they're buying them for $1,200 and then selling them for $9,500. And he's done videos about it. He's like, yeah, look, we're making some money, but it's a pain in the butt to get these in here. You have to do so much paperwork and pay all these different people to get it done right. But you're right. If you bought 9 of them and you have the container, then I think in the neighborhood you could
offload them pretty easily.
The thing is though is that I would prefer to just have a golf cart, right? Like I don't want the fact that it doesn't have air conditioning. It has a heater. So people are buying them and they're like, it's amazing from my neighborhood up in the mountains. I roll up the windows, turn the heater on, and then I'm driving around my neighborhood.
Heating with a battery?
Yeah.
But here you want the windows down. You want the breeze.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if it wasn't goofy, we can't use the golf cart on the golf course anyway. You got to get like a separate golf cart for that.
Yeah.
I just want something that doesn't look like ridiculous.
I almost feel like I want the most ridiculous vehicle possible.
So everyone knows where you're at?
Well, it's just like a funny, like, golf carts are already stupid, so why not just have something that looks insane and people are like, oh, Lee, what's up? He's driving the Chang Li, you know. All right, we ready to rate this? You remember now what we're doing?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm going to rate, yeah, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
You're going 2.
Dude, what is this? I mean, this is like a blurry picture of people standing. I read this is in the MoMA Art Gallery.
It's blurry.
Or
it's got motion blur, but like I feel like this is just weird and quirky enough to where this feels like an NFT that would sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Don't start.
It's a shebang shot for me.
No, it's not. It's not shebanging.
I don't know. There's something about this. I love the color scheme. I think she looks like, this old lady that's dressed kind of hip. And then there's the like young Steve Jobs walking into the frame. There's something about it that I feel like I can look past the blown out highlights.
To be honest with you, I'm looking at it a little bigger now on this second screen we have here. And I do like it a little bit. Like those blue lines that are coming down the bottom right and upper right portion. It's kind of hard to see on the other screen. It does feel a little more magical for sure.
Magical.
This was taken by Andy Chapman. He said it was taken inside the MoMA in New York City using the iPhone 11 and then further adjusted contrast and colors using the phone. Yeah, there's something a little interesting there.
This could go either way. If you scroll through a portfolio and the next shot that you see is awful, it makes this one feel awful. But if the next shot is in the same vein and it's a series, it's kind of like, those shots of the drones down on the umbrellas. Like you kind of say, oh, it's kind of blurry or it's not perfectly sharp or the colors they've tweaked them a little bit to give it like a style or a filtered look. You see those in hotels and stuff all the time and you're like, it gives a vibe. It's kind of cool. But I don't know. This has to belong in a very specific portfolio, I think.
I can't go into detail with this, but I spoke
Here we go.
I spoke with Peter yesterday.
VG Screens is going to be pissed.
Yeah. I'm sure many of you guys know Peter Hurley has been doing this NFT thing, which I have problems with. And I told him, I was like, if this is a big success, then I will, and you're comfortable with it, I will make a video talking bad about it. Like, just being honest about my feelings towards NFTs and like what's going on
After
and
the fact, after it's already been successful, or
yeah, like I was like, if you give me your blessing, I will do a video about your NFTs, but I'm not gonna like pump them. I'm gonna
debate them.
I'm gonna give my full and honest opinion of it.
Okay.
And he was like, okay, yeah, but like we never officially
Agreed.
yeah. He was like, we'll talk about that later or whatever. But I was texting him the other day, maybe yesterday, and I probably can't say, he's made lots of money.
Yeah.
Um,
They're officially out now, or they come out at the end of the month?
They were supposed to be officially out, and then like I don't know, they're like some pre-sale thing. So there is a chance that him just wanting more free publicity, he's going to be like,
do it.
And I have many opinions.
Yeah.
So that might be an interesting video. But at the moment, I don't want to.
I
talk
feel
trash
like,
about my friend.
not talk too much about NFTs, but I feel like because this community here, it's all about crypto, and everyone's getting into these projects, and they've got seminars on how to create NFTs. Did you watch the video I sent on like how little money you make on NFTs after all the fees of like putting them on the registering a piece of art as an NFT, and then?
But the truth is that I think that video, it wasn't. Most of that stuff wasn't percentage based. It was kind of like it costs around $250 to do an NFT.
Yeah, so was the idea if you sold an NFT for $300, you might only make $50, but if you made that a $20,000 NFT, you would then
maybe owe $300. Yeah,
I don't know if it's a percentage because is crypto always like percentage based? The gas tax, is it based like you can't just move $1 million in crypto and pay $50. I think it's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, right? Or no?
What, just because Bitcoin transaction fees are so high?
I thought so. I mean, every time I sell my crypto, I'm like so frustrated about how much it costs to do that. And so I just hold it because I'm like, I don't want to keep losing this percentage. But I was going to say something about the NFT. Oh, the whole thing is we're surrounded by people involved in the crypto space, right? The metaverse.
Yep.
And I think you and I are both kind of cynical about it. But every time I ask people that are really excited about it, it's like they're in this cult. And they can't speak honestly about it.
Right.
And when they start to, they're just like, you don't understand. And I'm like, well, enlighten me.
Yeah.
Like, answer these questions.
Well, dude, with the smart contracts, there's no more need for lawyers or paperwork or
And I'm like, but I sent my money to the wrong address. How do I get it back? Oh, well, there's going to be a solution for that. And I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll have to get into it, but...
yeah.
So MoMA is...
I don't think this should be an NFT. I don't really think anything should be an NFT. So, next up.
But what if you could play one of those characters in the metaverse?
Yeah. What if?
What if you could be this guy on a safari? That's
See,
worth
this
thousands.
image is very HDR-ish. I'm not saying it looks horrible. It just doesn't really look that professional to me. It looks highly edited. I don't.
Well, I agree with that, but you're saying this looks like the iPhone or a smartphone fake digital in-camera processing?
It looks like it was done beyond what the phone would do.
Yeah, gosh, there was a photographer that we were like on the fringe of being friends with. We were like at the very beginning of Fstop.
But then we were like, we hate this guy.
No, I've exchanged emails with him and like just nothing ever really came of it. But his style of photography kind of looked like this, and then he changed completely. He like went into like snapshot lifestyle stuff that actually blew up even more. But his original editing kind of looked like this, and
oh, I think I know who you're
this
talking
was a
about.
style. I mean, he did a lot of composite work. This
Yeah.
doesn't feel as composited, but it's like this hyper real thing from the early 2000s before the phone could do this. You know what I mean?
This was taken by Matthias Kohler, and he says this picture was taken in South Africa on an iPhone 11, edited with the iPhone photo app.
So this image I put in the featured image that we use for the YouTube video.
I do like it. I think maybe my biggest complaint with this is the adult hand.
Yeah.
I don't like that, but I don't know how you're
I
getting
don't
rid of
really
that.
love the bar on the left. It might be hard to see it, but I keep trying to like go, and it's hard. I won't be able to do it on the screen up there, but like something that's
You could
like
go into the edit app and do it.
I don't really care to do that enough because I will probably mess it up. But
Yeah.
there's something about like the top of the frame just being a ton of sky and the left bar that if you could crop in a little tighter and make it more about him in some way, I don't know. I'm having a hard
Let's
time.
rate it. 3, 2, 1.
Three.
3 stars. I like it all right. I don't mean, should this be on your website?
Now, if there was like
Probably
a wild
not.
lion running towards the car,
That would be better.
then you'd be like, "This is great." Like,
would be way
it
better.
makes me want to know like the
Or
story.
if they were in a Chang Li and his arm was coming out of the Chang Li, you'd be like, now that car is awesome. This image is great.
Does China make a rip-off Hummer, like an original Hummer? Maybe that uses so much gas that you don't want. I saw a military Hummer leaving Palmas the other day, and I was like, I always love the look of that car, like the wide one that's like can go over anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because a pothole in the Chang Li, it's done.
That's true.
You worry about the shipping container.
Potentially just a pebble on the
Yeah,
Chang
you worry
Li's
about the
done.
ocean.
Yeah.
Shipping it over here, you hit a pothole and that thing's gone.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, the reason why the drop shipping Chang Li business isn't going to work for this neighborhood is because although the Chang Li can get up to 35 miles an hour,
Yep.
it cannot go up hills well. And this neighborhood's super hilly. So Chang Li's bad decision.
There's probably a modification you could do on it.
Potentially,
Do you need a stronger lithium battery? Is that what people do? They put their own battery in to give it a
yeah,
little more...
probably, but I'm sure the motor in the Chang Li isn't the highest quality. It's probably like the worst quality. If you
Well,
could just guess.
The side of town, I'm moving on the other side of the tracks.
That's true.
But I don't think I have many hills
I
I
don't
have to
know.
deal with.
To get to the plaza, you got that one hill to get up. Like, I don't know if the Chang Li can do it. I
just-
think it can. It's just really slow.
Yeah, the plaza is the one place I do take the golf cart a lot. But
Yeah.
all right, next image.
What is this? What is this? Have we
This-
been here?
I don't think we have, but if I had to guess, this is like Malaysia or Singapore or it feels like, what's that movie? I've seen it so many times. Rich Asians. What is that?
Crazy Rich Asian. You've seen it so many times.
I've seen that movie like 2 or 3 times because I watched it on a plane and I was like, for a romantic comedy sort of movie, I was like, I really liked this. It's kind of edgy and funny. It was just different, right? And then Kristen wanted to see it because I told her how great it was and her friends recommended it. So I watched it with her.
Okay.
And then I was somewhere else and it was on and maybe I've seen it 2.5 times. It's a good movie. This feels like that though. This is like that part of the world.
So this was taken by Jan or Han Mueller. He or she says, they took this photo in Singapore's airport. We have been in there.
This is in the airport?
Yeah.
I do not remember that. Gotta go back.
During that time, I was lucky that I was there for a wedding shoot. The couple chilled in front of the waterfall when the photographer prepared his gear. Luckily, in that moment, they started trying out a pose, which looked quite cool. I used the ultra-wide lens with f2.4. I intended to show both the dramatic urban oasis and also the intimacy of the couple being almost alone in there. So when I first saw this, I did not even see the couple.
Yeah.
Zoom in so we can see the couple.
I did, but
Okay. I mean, I do think it's so much better now that I know there's people in there. I was gonna give this 2 stars definitely, 1 star maybe, but now I'm leaning towards 3 stars because of the couple.
have you ever, and what's the ethics on this? Have you ever been traveling? I know you've been traveling somewhere where you had your camera with you and you stumble upon a wedding in a beautiful place because you're sightseeing. And like, there's a chance that you could take the photo of them. Maybe not like over the photographer's shoulder, like that's obnoxious.
Yeah.
But in this scenario where like you took this picture and you're like, I got a shot from Italy.
Is that what they're saying here?
I think so. I think they're saying that there's a photographer down there that's hidden or cloned out.
So it says, during that time, I was lucky that there was wedding shoot. So maybe they mean luckily when I was in the airport, there was a wedding shoot. Maybe that's what they mean. So as a previous professional wedding photographer, I always thought it was so weird. I'd be always out for an engagement shoot or bridal portrait or the day of the wedding, shooting the bride and groom, and professional photographers would be photographing people they don't know, and I'm like, what is
This happened
going
to you a
on?
lot?
All the time in Charleston.
Like they were loaded up with the gear hanging, or like
I
they
don't know
just
if it was
pulled
that
out a
crazy.
camera.
Like they would have a $4,000 setup, and they would be taking pictures of my client. And it wasn't that I was like, how dare you? This is my job, not yours. I just thought, what are you doing? You don't know these people. Get a life. Why are you taking pictures of
But they would do more than just like a shot or two.
Maybe it was a shot or two because I would give them like a stink eye, and then
Yeah, but if you're on vacation and you have a professional camera and you're like, check out, like, look how beautiful this scene was, and look, I shot there was a wedding there.
That's weird.
Is it any different than seeing like
what
somebody
if there's
else's
kids
dog
playing and like, oh, like there's kids playing in the fountain. Look at how beautiful it is. I'm going to start
People
photographing
do that,
them. Yeah,
and
they
it's
do.
like a little creepy and weird, but like it's like street photography. I don't think it's that. Part of me thinks it's weird, and part of me thinks it isn't weird. But all I'm trying to say is very few people probably get an image that looks this good. Like, it's going to have the photographer in it, or the lighting is bad, or they used a strobe and you couldn't use the strobe, or there's like, you just don't have the control of the situation. And so you wind up with a snapshot that looks like it's in Paris or something.
Right.
But, I mean, imagine Paris. There's a bride and groom out in front of the Eiffel Tower, and there's tourists everywhere, and you get from far some shot like this that looks...
That's different. Because in this shot, you can't see the face of the bride and groom, right?
You're doing it from like an ethics standpoint of like, this couple is now in your portfolio, but like...
Okay, so here's the thing. If you are an aspiring wedding photographer and you need images for your portfolio and you shoot strange couples on the street, I think that's weird, but it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
If you are just a hobbyist photographer and you take portraits of people while someone else is taking their portrait and you don't ask for their permission, that is super weird. It's just lame, and like it's creepy. It's lame. You should get a life. Like, you should be photographing other things. Nobody on earth wants to see your pictures of strangers. That is weird.
You're saying if they're not a professional photographer and they're just
If they can be a professional photographer,
a novice or a...
But if they aren't doing it, I can see if you're trying to get into wedding photography and you're like, I have got to get this portfolio together because nobody's going to book me unless I have the portfolio. Yeah. I don't like it because it's kind of misleading.
Yeah.
You're selling that like, this is a wedding I shot, when in reality you're a creeper on the street taking pictures of strangers. I don't like it, but I understand it. But if when everybody gets into photography, like we did it too. When you first get into photography, you're so excited by it. You just want to take pictures of everything.
Yeah.
You go outside, you take pictures of flowers.
Yeah.
That's lame. You take pictures of your cat. That's lame. But like, we all do it. But when you start taking pictures of strangers without their permission, that is peak weird. Maybe children is the highest weird.
We don't disagree often, but I think I 100% disagree with you here.
Okay.
I think if you're an aspiring wedding photographer and you're doing what you said is weird, but you understand, I think that is the most misleading, weird thing you could do, because you are trying to use them professionally. And if you're just somebody who has a cool Instagram, think of like Nick Milak. He is a professional photographer, but let's say he's not. And he just has a cool Instagram with good snapshots. That seems like more acceptable to me. That's like street photography. You're taking pictures of strangers and you caught a bride and groom in a location and you got a snapshot of it, but it looks cool. Maybe this is more than a snapshot. I think that's like more accepting than the first scenario.
Okay, so street photography is a little strange to me, but I've seen some street photography that is super interesting. It's almost historical in a way. You're taking pictures of people like in the attire of that time, in an environment of that time, and it's almost like telling a story. Good street photography is almost like telling the story of...
But I would say that is the goal of 90% of all street photography. That's the goal. Now, whether or not they pull it off, that could be a critique of its own. We've done that.
That's my point, is I think when people take pictures of random bride and grooms walking down the street, I don't think that is high-end street photography. I think that is super lame, just snapshots. You're just like, oh, there's somebody in a pretty dress. Let's get it.
So then let's get back to this image.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is. So is this super lame and like he's not a wedding photographer? And I mean, we don't know, I don't think.
I think this is lame, but I don't think it's nearly as bad because he's way far away. He's not photographing anybody's face. This is like, something else. But yes, what's the word that I condemn this behavior.
Getting back to this image, the thing that bums me out is this seems to just be a wedding couple. She's not in a white dress unless like in Singapore, it's super popular to have like maybe not wearing white is a thing,
Yeah.
But if she was in a white dress, I think I'd like this even more, and I'd say like, oh, that's pretty cool. The problem with all this is if you are a wedding photographer, and this is why I had kind of the beef of what you said, is if you're a wedding photographer and then you put this in your portfolio and the couple has to be like, oh my gosh, we've been there. You shot a wedding in Singapore?
Yeah.
You now have to be like, oh man, like, no, actually,
you
either have to lie, I went to Singapore and attended a wedding, or on vacation I was able to shoot this, and you kind of like sidestep it a little bit.
Yes.
Or you have to be like, no, actually, like, this is what I could do if I was hired, but I just saw this wedding. And then you seem really cheap and desperate, and they don't want to hire you.
Okay.
So like that whole mentality is more weird to me than being like the street photography photojournalist guy walking around taking pictures.
So then I have a question for you. What is more lame? Walking around outside and shooting another photographer's bride and groom in a location that like they have set up and a pose that they've set up and putting that on your website, or paying your way into one of these wedding photography workshops where they've hired a professional model.
Oh gosh, that's a whole. We got to make that's a whole other video.
They have 15 or 20 photographers standing in the same spot. The professional on set poses the couple, lights the couple. People are sharing pocket wizards or whatever, and then all 15 people take the exact same picture, and then that ends up on your website. What is lamer?
So we ran a workshop in the Bahamas for 2 years with Pi Jerza, which is exactly what happens. And you leave saying, and I've had friends that have done this, you go to their portfolio today, it's got those pictures from the Bahamas. I don't know, like, I think it's lame to put that in your portfolio. I think you treat that as a learning experience, and I took pictures, and we got back to the classroom, and we critiqued everybody's, and we saw, hey, maybe you did something a little different, even in this really confined scenario that you set up. But the idea that people in Houston are going to be going through and be like, wow, that's awesome, that's in the Bahamas. But then another photographer from Houston might have also gone to that workshop, and you're like...
But the question is...
Because this happened in Charleston. You would have like Charleston photographers that would have the same model couple that's not really married in the same location on multiple people's websites.
Yeah.
If I was looking for a photographer, I would dismiss both those people and be like, I don't want to like hire like something.
Yeah.
It would be weird. I think it is. I think it is weird.
It is weird. And then you have to have an answer when the bride asks about this wedding. They say like, oh wow, what a beautiful couple. You have to either lie or say, well, they're professional models.
Or just be like,
or like, wow, where was this wedding taken?
Yeah.
You're at this incredible beach. Well, it was in the Bahamas. Really? I want to see more from this wedding. Well, it was a workshop and somebody else set it up, and this is the only picture that I took.
You and I have always talked about like how easily you can pull those images out of a portfolio,
Right. It doesn't match any of your other
You
pictures.
never have the ceremony shot where they're kissing and it's like, oh, everyone's celebrating, and then there's the shot of them in the ocean with the dress, and it's always just the crazy shot.
Yeah.
And then you never see anything else from it. Like,
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But I don't mean to say that you don't have, there's not a purpose for doing the workshops. It's just weird to take those pictures, like what a good workshop should do. And I think we allowed for this to some degree, but like a good workshop would be like, all right, now work in this area and kind of do whatever you want. You're still not getting over the fact that you have the same two people.
Yeah.
But now there's some freedom and flexibility. Shoot natural light, shoot strobe light, shoot different times of day, put them in different locations, but I've never done that myself, taken an image from like a posed group. Have I ever done that? I definitely haven't done it from workshop because I don't think I ever took a workshop, but have I ever gotten two people that were not married and just took shots of models? And I don't think I ever did that.
It seems like we would have had to for some sort of Fstoppers video. Like you took a picture of that black dancer girl who was beautiful. You did that for some video. I don't know that you put that on your wedding website, but
Black dancer girl.
Like her husband looked like some model as well, and I thought you used him for another photo shoot.
Oh, recently.
I think so.
Yeah, that was for Pro Photo though. We put that on our channel. It was using the strobe lights with your phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was her real dress, and I didn't shoot her wedding. They actually didn't even hire a photographer for the.
Oh, really?
Maybe they did, but it was just like very like limited.
Yeah.
But that was for like a commercial application for Pro Photo and to show what you can do. But that image isn't in my wedding portfolio.
But would you have a problem putting it in your wedding portfolio? Like,
that's a little different.
I don't know.
If you hire a model, this is the whole styled shoot thing.
right.
I've teamed up with a designer in a venue, and I am in control. We are in control, but there's not other photographers there, and we built this thing.
Right.
And here's
I
what
could do this for you.
We could do this.
Yeah.
That's like a whole different thing. I have less problem with that. But if you had 5 other photographers there and they're all building this thing up and all taking pictures, maybe we should just move on. Have we even rated this image?
I don't think we did.
All right.
3,
2, 1. 2?
I don't know. It feels like it has this weird
Yeah.
white balance tint.
It's
like
got this
on the green side, it
yeah.
needs to push to magenta or something.
I do think the coloring could be better. I feel like if you can keep the green the way that it is in the bottom, but then clean up the whites and give it a warmer or a bluer feel in the top, I think you could pull more out of this with some color grading. And it's probably been graded, but I don't know that I love it. But I think it's a pretty cool shot, and most of the reason it's cool is just that's such an incredible installation.
But also, it's like...
It's so cliche. Like
it's like...
It's at the most obvious place, the airport.
Can you put a picture of the Statue of Liberty on your photography website? Probably not, right?
I mean, if you were in a helicopter and they were at the little hand, like in the torch, and yeah, if it's some insanely unique thing.
I just don't know that this is that unique, but...
All right. Speaking of insanely unique.
Where is this?
This looks
Have we
like...
been here?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, because this looked like that place in Italy that we went for a second, but then there's...
Oh, what was the name of that place? Pietra Pertosa?
Maybe. I can't.
And there's another town across from it. That's one of the most crazy places. Like, I was just in Italy for a wedding, Lauren's wedding, and there was a part of me that was like, I would love to get in a car and drive back to that place because it just felt... It was like Iceland in Italy. It was the most insane little town I think I've ever been to. But this isn't that. But this looks like... It looks like a location that we feature on the critique all the time. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's that slope. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe it's the other side of this mountain, but...
Well, let's see. Paul Slowick took this, and he said this was taken on the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. The sunrise shot was done on top of something mountain in Italy, so it is in Italy. Woke up with my son at 2 a.m. and walked about 3 hours. Wow. That's cool.
Oh, there's a whole behind-the-scenes video?
Yeah, if you go to fstoppers.com/contests, you can see this. He actually added a behind-the-scenes video of how he edited the shot. I feel like the... oh, and there's a person in the shot.
Oh, I just noticed that too.
That's cool.
That's his son?
Yeah. I feel like maybe the sky, I don't know, there's a little bit too much shadow recovery and highlight recovery for my taste.
Having worked with Elia Liccardi for so many years and learning how important the right time of day is, and like we always joke, we get to a location and we're like, this would be amazing at sunset, and he's like, this is a sunrise location. And I'm always like, is this Elijah just screwing with us to get up early in the morning and hike out here for sunrise? Or is there some truth to it? And there's always a little bit of truth to it. This shot looks like I want the sun rising at a different angle and casting light to give more dimension to this cliff.
So you should have come in 3 months earlier.
That's the trouble with landscape photography is if you're visiting here and you plan to take a shot, you're going to get up at 3 in the morning and you're going to attempt to do this. But working with Elia, he would be like, we're not going to go to this location because the sun won't be in the right place. And it's like the next level thinking that I wouldn't even process. I'd be like, we got to go there and we'll get a good shot.
Yeah.
But when I look at this, it's completely backlit. And that's not to say that backlit landscapes don't have their place and can't be awesome and amazing. This certainly has some of that. I think this right-hand side is getting the light that gives it that look. But the majority of this shot, the backlight isn't hitting it and giving it the texture that I think would make this location look as spectacular as possible.
Okay.
So in my mind, I almost want to like somehow move 90 degrees and somehow, I mean, maybe there's no place to do that, but shoot in the opposite direction so that you get the nice highlights and shadows on this. Otherwise, I feel like the sun needs to be in a different location.
Right. Let's rate it. 3, 2, 1.
I think it's still like I think the location's so crazy looking that it allows you to kind of put it in your portfolio. But I don't know that I love the composition, the leading lines. I don't love the light. It's beautiful light in the sense that the sun's in the right position and this, you know, you could tell this is like a photographic time of day. I just don't think the light on the scene is what you would ideally do. If you lived here, you would take the shot and be like, man, I got to go back. I got to go back in 4 months when the sun's over here and I know how to do it better, as opposed to leaving saying like, I captured that in the best possible way it could be.
I think, I don't know, I lean towards 2 stars. Obviously the location is incredible, but the post-processing, it just feels like shadow highlight 100% both ways, and a little much for me. Next up. So how was this taken with a phone? Did you read?
I did, but before you, well, if you just click on it, you're gonna know.
Okay, should I not read it?
I mean, if you just look at that picture there, which you should share with everybody else in a bit, but you now see how it was taken.
Oh. What's funny is I clicked on this briefly before we went live, and I didn't get what I was looking at.
Yeah. You want to go full screen on the image?
Sorry.
This is from Robert Tran. It's called Paradise Found. Shot on an iPhone 11 Pro Max with heavy post-compositing. So that should give it away right there. You can pull up the other behind-the-scenes shot, but basically this looks like...
You don't have it on your computer?
I didn't save it on the iPad, but if you go to fstoppers.com contest and look at this contest, you can see this. Basically, he added the boat, cleaned up the water, but this is a cell phone shot on some like lilies or
yeah.
something growing in a lake or a park.
Yeah, very interesting concept here. It's funny, I literally looked at this and I was like, I don't understand what's happening, and then I moved on to the next image. But it's interesting.
So I put this in there. I don't think the community rated this very highly, but I like this level of thinking where instead of just trying to take a beautiful shot of a girl or a mountain range that everybody's seen, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. But this is like the next level. You know, when you see Von Wong do a project, he's into all the environmental stuff. Did you see the project he just did recently?
With the...
He built like a faucet and then had a crane and built all this stuff to hide the crane, and then he drove the crane to different locations so it looks like the faucet is pouring out all of this plastic and then, you know, doing the, you know, it's polluting the environment. I'm like, that's the type of photography, like I don't love, like his work's amazing, but it's not something I'm gonna like buy and put on my wall, but like I love that idea, and he's always been great about that. It's put superheroes on the edge of a really precarious cliff. or a skyscraper, and I'm going to do something where it's this next level thinking where there's been so much planning, and it's not just good post-processing. The whole thing has been planned for months.
Yeah.
This hasn't been planned for months, but this is kind of more in that realm where the photographer had an idea and he took a shot and executed it both on location and in post-processing and built something that's a little bit more exciting. I liked it. I feel like there could be a whole series of this, you know? I like series. I feel like if an image works in multiple iterations, then it's kind of cool and worth doing.
Andy Brooks says, I want more dongle videos. I actually, for the last day or two, I've been meaning to do my updated MacBook Pro video. I literally packed up my Windows desktop and put it in the garage. So all I have had is the new MacBook.
Yeah.
I've been using it exclusively for 2 to 3 weeks now. Parts of it have enraged me, and other aspects of it I like. So I need to do my final thoughts video. So that video maybe tomorrow will come out, maybe the next day.
Yeah, could you reveal? Are you switching and keeping?
I'm certainly not switching, but
you're going to be one of these people that has one foot in both
worlds. So I think we always have to have a MacBook because we'll have sponsors or whatever send us something that must be used with a Mac computer. We own a Mac computer.
Or we have photographers that only work on a Mac,
right,
and they can't come down with their setup, or we're shooting remotely or whatever.
So I'm not going to keep both. I'm going to sell the old one, keep this one. And then, but I think I'm going to make this when I travel, I think this is what I'm bringing.
Before you sell the old one, what do we have? A MacBook 2018 that has all the ports?
15, I think.
15? You should do some kind of like speed test on something reasonable. Like everyone's saying the new M1 chip is so amazing for video editing.
Yeah.
Could you edit, now that you have everything kind of set up and you're in that world, you should do a comparison and see if you really can see on,
it's a good idea.
because you're using Adobe, you're not using Final Cut.
Right.
So can you tell a huge difference? And does one need proxies and the other one can use the full files? Or guess what? The MacBook 2015 wasn't really that. It has to be, right? Has to be night and day.
Yeah, 6 years difference. I think it's going to be huge.
I mean, the architecture of this is like a brand new chip. That's the big announcement. So I don't know. While you have them here, and I know we're about to leave and move, and but that'd be an interesting thing, even just for your own enjoyment.
I agree. Next,
ready to rate this?
Yeah, sure. 3, 2, 1.
I'll give it a 3.
I'll give it a 3 too.
It's interesting.
It is.
It's not trying to be something it's not. It's like you're not going to critique this and be like, that looks fake. When that's the whole point of this, is it's kind of.
The funny thing, I mean, I saw it briefly, and I thought for sure it was an island. I never once thought.
I mean,
there
look
was
at
a
that
lily
feather
pad
right there. The feather bigger than the boat.
I know. All right, next.
I believe this is the final image, and we didn't pick a random winner, but the default is always the last image in the critique. So this is Linda, and
send me a private message on fstoppers.com. Let me know which tutorial you would like from fstoppers.com/store. Linda Olson took this and says the shot was taken on my Huawei P20 Pro. Are Huawei's banned in America for being like
I've never seen that phone.
Chinese spying devices or something? I thought so. She said this was shot in RAW, converted in Lightroom. Did not succeed removing the chromatic aberration. Still fond of the shot though, and the two ladies and the special light in the background. It does. This shot
has that Huawei look.
It feels like it's a movie set because it feels like it's being lit from two directions to me. It feels like the sun is behind them in fog or in a cloud, and then it feels like there's a movie light set up camera right that's lighting up the trees. Doesn't it feel like that?
Not particularly. I don't
really.
No, I mean, this feels like, there's a cloudy background and the sun's to the right.
It doesn't feel like the clouds in the background should be that bright to me.
I feel like you're wrong.
Well, you know what? You can suck it because
there's no
something
answer.
about this doesn't feel natural to me, and I like that. I like
so
that.
This image is one of those where I think this would be really interesting blown up large, and like this is the kind of artwork that I think I would want installed in my house, but maybe this is still even not abstract enough. Maybe it needs to be a little more abstract.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not as beautiful, but this is close. I like this a lot more than some of the other stuff that we've seen in terms of fine art. There is a color thing that's going on. It feels, maybe it looks a little more normal on the phone or on the screen up here, but it feels a little green. I feel like if it had a little more warm tones with a little more magenta, a little bit more like yellow light, I think I would like it a little bit better. And then I know what this is. It's a stump that's down here. And maybe this would register better large, or you could dodge or do something to make it stand out a little bit more. But when it's small, my eye just keeps going to this big like black thing that's sticking up out of the shadows. And there's another one over here too. I can't quite tell what this one is. Maybe that's just a cut tree. But I would probably clone those two little things out. I like that there's these random people hiking. It's kind of a bummer that the light doesn't also go all the way over on the left side. But it's a peaceful, nice, just simple shot. The verticals are all straight.
Crop in a little bit and crop out that darker left side, but show the bottoms of the trees. So I think crop in a little bit more and just pan down. And pan down a little bit, right? That's too much, I feel like, but something like that. I think I like that.
Yeah.
I think I like that a lot. All right, are you ready to rate this?
I am ready to rate it.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars. Yeah, there's aspects of this that are super cool. I don't know. Something feels magical about the lighting in this shot to me. But I agree with you. It's got this green tint to it. I just want to see a little bit more magenta.
It almost looks like, you know, when you shoot RAW and then you don't change the color space to RGB and then you upload to the internet and all your colors are like, you export the video and then you watch it back and you're like, no.
Yes.
All the colors are muted because the color space is wrong. It kind of has that vibe to it. Again, on the screen and here, it actually looks a little bit more correct, but on the iPad, it looks off to me. But did we announce the new critique at the beginning of this? It's been so long ago. This has been a long episode.
I know. So
we are doing product photography.
Yep.
And I don't know if you saw, Brian Rogers Jr. just took an old guitar of his and like sanded it and rebuilt it and did like everything himself. Custom made pick guards so you could see into the electronics. And then of course, in typical Brian Rogers fashion, he was like, I got to take a photo of it. And the photo he took, you'll have to go to the fstoppers.com/contest to see it. He put flames and just made it look like it's on fire and put a concrete background. It looks really cool. So he just posted that on the website, and it made me think, why don't we do something with product photography? It doesn't have to be composite work if that's not what you do, but it could be food, it could be products, it could be anything that's just like a product type of shot.
I feel like he is one of the most consistent photographers we've ever worked with. We did a tutorial with him called the Hero Shot that surprisingly just hasn't been that successful compared to some other tutorials that we've done. And maybe it's just the genre.
Yeah.
Product photography is just not as exciting. But when you look at his portfolio, I think he has more 5-star images than anyone we've ever worked with. Everything he does is like perfect.
Yeah.
And he has such an artistic eye for stuff. A lot of what he's doing is in Photoshop. It's not necessarily done live on location, or it's done in another shot and then he's compositing it in Photoshop or whatever. And it just looks so freaking good. And then he'll move into something else, like he'll shoot a house and it'll look incredible, or he'll shoot a car and it'll look incredible. And he's kind of this quiet, humble person. I don't think he has as big of a personality as some of the other photographers that we've worked with. And so I just don't think a lot of Fstoppers readers even really know who he is.
Yeah.
But I think he's one of the best we've ever worked with. And
I
his work
compare
is
him
amazing.
a lot with Mike Kelly because they come at photography from different angles, but they kind of wind up in a similar place where, and I think I've learned the most from those two photographers. Like obviously Peter Hurley and people teach you how to like work with a human being, and that's insanely eye-opening. But when you can say, I'm going to pre-visualize what a shot could look like and pre-plan that, and then I know how using a tripod and lighting things from different angles and manipulating the light and then compositing just the elements that I want, either in an architectural shot or a product shot, that blew my mind. And when you know how to do that well, it completely changes photography for you, you know? And you don't have to do
You
it
become
all.
kind of an artist more than a photographer.
Right. And so I see Mike Kelly shoot Fender guitars, and I'm like, oh, he went out to the desert and did this crazy thing.
That's
and
a great example.
Those
Yeah,
look
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I see Brian Rogers Jr. not shoot products, but go shoot a hotel, and I'm like, he gets it. Like, he knows what will make that image successful. I think those two guys are insanely talented, and they kind of approach photography from the same angle. And some of it does require a little bit of computer work, but then also some of it, like, you could just take the time to visualize what you need, and with very simple exposures, maybe a couple of shots, you could get an image that just looks way better than what it ever would look like with a single shot.
Anybody watching this who's, interested in taking your photography to the next level, or like you're interested in photography in general, maybe you don't really have a specialty yet, check out our tutorial, The Well-Rounded Photographer. That's it, right?
Yeah.
It's not we called it for years while we were producing it, The Balanced Photographer and then Well-Rounded, and I never know which one we chose when we released it, but it's Well-Rounded, right?
Well-rounded.
You can see it at fstoppers.com/store, and we do lessons with almost every single professional that we've made full-length tutorials with. So Brian Rogers Jr. is in that tutorial, Mike Kelly's in that tutorial, Peter Hurley's in that tutorial, and basically you can learn their skills and their genre of photography in a more quick fashion than buying a 10 or 20 hour tutorial from them. But then if you find yourself like, oh wow, I never even thought about product photography, but I love what Brian's doing and now I'm having fun, then you might be interested in buying his full-length tutorial afterwards. You can kind of get a taste for everybody without.
And like I just
crazy.
said, I feel like I've learned so much from Brian and from Mike Kelly, yet I don't shoot those genres ever, really. Yeah. But it allows me to say, oh, what is something I'm interested in shooting? I like taking landscapes. Maybe I can light paint and blend that in. Or maybe I take pictures of the guitar pedals or whatever it is. It allows me to think outside the box, because before I just thought, oh, how are we going to light this with 4 lights? You don't even need to do that.
Yeah.
Light it with 1 light and then light it different ways with the same light and then composite it together, There's smarter ways to do it and more interesting ways to do it.
And that's why we named the tutorial The Well-Rounded Photographer or The Balanced Photographer. It's just this idea that, yes, you might be a portrait photographer, but eventually you're going to have to take a portrait of somebody in a location. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to get the composition and the lighting on the location right?
Yeah.
And then eventually somebody's going to come to you and go, hey, I need a picture of this lobby in this new building. Are you capable of doing that? And you want the answer to be
yes.
Yes. I don't have that on my website, but actually I do that all the time. Or, oh, you've got this little product or whatever. You just want the option to be able to take whatever jobs come your way, even if it's not your specialty, even if you're not advertising, you can do it.
Yeah. And there's an ego to it too. I want to be able to take the best product of this thing in my my town.
Yeah.
If you sell candles and you're like, can you do this? I want to be like, yeah, I'm the best guy you could hire. But if I don't know those skills, it's like, a lot of times I'd give up those jobs and be like, man, I got to shoot 100 products? I have no idea. That seems overwhelming. But if you knew how to do that well, consistently, quick,
yeah,
then yeah, you'd take on that job.
I'm just thinking out loud now. I feel like a tutorial that we could probably do, I don't know that it would be super successful.
Importing golf carts into a foreign land?
Yes. How to make money selling Chang Lees. No, it was like the event style photography where you're doing like photo booths or green screen stuff or printing live on location or school portraits, yearbook pictures, like that style of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like very huge amounts of pictures and quick amounts of time, and having systems in place and stuff like that. Maybe that's so specialized that...
I don't know, man. Like when I kind of gave up wedding photography, I don't know if I'd moved here yet. There was a point where I was just focusing only on Fstoppers. I would get these emails from like Google. It wouldn't be Google, but it'd be some PR company. And they're like, hey, do you want to go shoot the governor speaking at some school 20 minutes away? And I'm like, this is so below what I would do. Like, I don't feel like this doesn't do anything for me. But they'd be like $300 or $400 for like 30 minutes of your time, and I'd be like, $300 or $400, like that's 2 fancy dinners that I could go to if I just do this. And they'd like say, just dump the file, like just we'll provide you a memory card, and we literally we want it that day because we want our team to like blast this out on social media that here's the governor with these kids. And like there's all kinds of weird jobs like that well, if you've never bounce flashed or shot an event or done some of these other types of photography, like you'd probably be like, man, I don't want to go shoot a school. Like, but because I was a wedding photographer, I felt totally comfortable doing that job.
Well, the interesting thing is that you know, when we got into photography, it was kind of a closed, secret society of successful professional photographers and then hobbyists, right? And the professionals had their little community where they would kind of help each other and give each other tips, and here's how I would charge for that, and oh, you're underbidding and whatever. And then they would try to keep out the amateurs because the amateurs would come in and undercut everyone, and they would lower the prices and everything. So it was this very closed world. And then with the internet and Strobist and Fstoppers, all of a sudden we kind of started finding these photographers who were willing to share about what they were doing. Now amateurs are coming in and they're becoming professionals at like a faster rate than ever before, right? But there is still a very closed society of photographers, and one of them is
school photography.
School photography. I don't know if you've had conversations with these guys before. I've talked to a couple of them, and they are like, Lee, I make so much money doing, like, once you get these contracts with these schools, you know, it's like I do these 3 schools and I make $750,000 a year just doing these 3 jobs.
And the thing that's interesting is the lighting is 45 lighting, and then every parent is like, oh, my kids' pictures are horrible. I still got to buy them. But like, it's not this respected genre.
No.
And I don't know, maybe the guys that you're talking to do a better job, but in my mind,
not necessarily.
Every school portrait is just bad.
But they have this system and they have this software figured out, because everything about this is organization and automation. And it's like, maybe they don't even take the pictures, but they have the team and the lighting, and they send a crew out. And
you can keep every kid paired up with their number and their order and their proof, and that gets printed and sent, and there's that day at the school where they hand them out. Like, that stresses me out more than shooting a wedding.
I mean, in a way,
so many things that could go wrong.
Kind of, but I don't know. Like, if you have this system in place, and you can say like, all right, I can shoot a person every 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And maybe you have 3 or 4 going at the same time, and you're just like, you, go, 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 go. And then you know that the school is gonna pay me $10 a kid or whatever, but then the parents on average pay me $45 per kid. And so I'm making $50 every 30 seconds I'm here doing this.
Yeah. Do they have like retouching services now for high school?
I'm sure.
Really? You can upgrade and say like,
I'm sure.
Because you couldn't retouch anything. Like, you'd make the silly face, or you'd wear like the ridiculous clothes and your mom would be mad. But there was no such thing as that when we were in school. It was all film.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't know how many people would really want to break into this. I have to imagine it's incredibly difficult to break into this industry, because they have contracts in place with these schools that in many cases they've had for years or decades. Like, I talked to this one guy in Charleston, and he was like, my studio has been doing these schools for 20 years now, and nobody is coming in and taking this business from me, because like, this is what keeps our business alive, is this one thing that we do once a year. And then, you know, they do portraits and weddings through the rest of the year, but it's this one job.
And that's the thing, like, people watching this are probably like, oh, but I don't want to do that. It's not fulfilling at all.
No.
It's just simply your bottom line. If you could make $250,000, $500,000 just doing that 1 month of the year, then like, it opens you up to be able to do whatever you want. If you want the huge studio with the big with the big, what's the word I'm looking for?
Psych wall? What?
No, just the overhead.
Overhead, yeah.
It has, you're paying like 20 grand a month for the studio. Like, maybe that would allow you to do that. If you want to take off 10 months out of the year and travel and do landscape photography, you could do that,
Yeah.
But a lot of times you don't think of doing that because, like me, it sounds like a big pain in the butt. It seems stressful. I don't want to put the time in to learn the system, and then, you have to disrupt the current system. You have to get in there and like lock down those contracts. But we have a buddy who used to live here who sold cap and gowns. Seems like a very similar type of field where there are 3 companies that take up 90% of all cap and gowns, and he was the 4th company that's trying to fight for the 10%, but then also a little bit more. And it's all about contracts and breaking up things that are existing, and knowing the new person that's in charge of that school, and like you're friends with him, like you can flip it. That's a difficult world, but if you could get it, it's just like the most guaranteed residual income all the time.
Right. Yeah, but I don't know that there's any money in it. Like, can you imagine anything less exciting than like in this tutorial, in this 20-hour tutorial, we're going in deep on
I'm gonna send you on
portrait
that one.
photography.
I'll let you go out to Kansas and film that one.
Yeah, we'd sell like 7 of them. But the thing is that you could potentially sell that tutorial for like 10 grand, but selling 10 of them for 10 grand, you're really not making much money. So that's probably never going to happen.
Well, I have to use the bathroom really bad. I feel like I've had too much coffee.
All right. Well,
let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do a coronavirus journal in the next few nights, because all this stuff's got to be broken down. Maybe we can do like a deconstructed set. Next time you see us, it's going to be like nothing's going to do it.
I just feel like if that's the case, we might as well rip everything down. We'll see. Bye, everybody.